What if I told you that where Jesus was teaching in Luke 13:10 is just as important as what he taught? And what if this verse isn't just historical, but prophetic? A message aimed straight at you. Because Luke 13:10 doesn't just tell us what Jesus did, it shows us who he intentionally taught and who he expects his followers to teach now. Luke chapter 13 verse 10 says, "Now he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath." Simple sentence, but nothing Jesus does is accidental. Let's slow this down. Jesus is teaching, not debating. In a synagogue, a religious space. On the Sabbath, when traditions were strongest. The synagogue was not a neutral place. It was filled with law experts, religious gatekeepers, and people convinced they already understood God. This was not the place you'd expect revolutionary freedom to be preached. Yet Jesus chooses this space. Why? Jesus didn't avoid places of misalignment. He walked directly into them. The synagogue was full of people who knew scripture, people who honoured rituals, people who had form without freedom. And Luke 13 proves something powerful. Jesus teaches where healing is resisted. The woman he heals has been bound for 18 years. Not in the streets, not among pagans, but inside the religious system. Sometimes the most bound people are the most religious ones. Now, here's where this becomes prophetic. Luke doesn't say Jesus visited the synagogue. He says Jesus was teaching there. Teaching implies repetition, patience, and intentional presence. This wasn't a one-time confrontation. It was a strategy. And that strategy reveals a pattern. God sends truth into spaces where it is least expected and most needed. Here's the prophetic word embedded in Luke 13:10. You are called to teach people who are not naturally aligned to Christ. Not just the easy audience, the affirming audience of which I've got a lot of, and the people who already agree with you, but the skeptical, the wounded, the religious but bound, the spiritually resistant, and the culturally distant. Jesus didn't wait for alignment before teaching. Teaching was the tool God used to bring alignment. What are today's synagogues? They're not always churches. They are workplaces hostile to faith, families tired of religion, online spaces full of mockery, and communities shaped by pain, and people who've heard about God but never met him. And God is saying, don't avoid these spaces. Teach there. Not with arrogance, not with condemnation, but with truth that heals. Notice the order. Jesus was teaching, then the woman is healed. Teaching prepares the ground. Teaching reframes reality. Teaching exposes false beliefs. Healing follows understanding. If you want to see freedom released through your life, teach patiently. Speak truth consistently. Stay present even when resisted. Luke chapter 13 verse 10 is asking you a question. Where are you avoiding teaching because alignment isn't guaranteed? Jesus teaches anyway. Because the word doesn't wait for comfort, it creates conviction, it creates clarity, it creates freedom. And maybe, just maybe, God has positioned you in a modern synagogue on purpose. If this has challenged you, share it with someone who's afraid to speak truth where it's hardest. And remember, Jesus didn't teach where it was easy, he taught where it was necessary.